So each time Tom comes, does he give you the updated numbers? Is that,
Yes.
Typically.
Yeah.
okay. Probably hasn't changed a whole lot since last time.
Corey, can you talk a little
Sure.
louder for
Yeah.
Jeff?
No, that's all right. We've installed since last fall 344 meters. From my paperwork that I have, which I think is fairly accurate, of unmetered homes, it's around 370 unmetered. Sorry?
I can't hear when
Oh.
I'm over there and you have your back to me.
Yeah.
But the
Yeah, that's better
acoustics
then.
in here are a challenge.
Okay. So we've installed 344 meters since last fall,
Mhm.
and we have a total of approximately 370 homes that are still unmetered. So, I mean, last fall was a good push-up, so we did probably the bulk of it last fall and in early winter. It really hasn't picked up a lot since then, like the spring
So these are the holdouts.
holdouts, and I thought we'd have more camps and stuff, honestly, that would call this spring, but we just haven't had a whole lot, whether it's just kind of faded away a little bit to people, or,
Yeah.
I mean, I get, complaints from people who cut the bills and whatever else, because somehow they go to that number sometimes. And I don't know if it's, what's the difference in the unmetered bill versus metered? I probably should have that.
You
so I
know,
can-
yeah, we probably can. We were gonna do, what, 2 or 3 comparative bills based on the numbers from downstairs. We had to like get more than a quarter, data. We can still try to like provide typical, comparables essentially. Like personally, ours went up probably $80 per quarter. I think it was like 200, now it's like 275.
And you're metered and you have both water and sewer. How many gallons a quarter do you use?
Like 6 to 7, high 5s is 7. This one might be higher this time because we have a garden. But we've never approached 13,000 gallons.
Yeah, it seems like every person has said anything to me, it was always thought that they're switching to be a little more cost effective by going metered, and it just hasn't seemed.
So that is not, that includes all the rate adjustments, right? So like people's bills are going up regardless of whether they're using less water, because the rates, even the base rate is going up. So like our increase is because of the change in base rates and surcharge, and just the rates, not the actual usage, because our usage is not going up. It has probably only gone down
Right.
because we're cognizant of it, and we've slowly been putting in more water, saving measures. Like we have, low flow toilet instead of 2 3.5 gallon flushes, right? So
I guess what is the price difference base rate from metered to non-metered? Because I get that like all the time. If I have it, then I can at least.
yeah, we do have it somewhere on
So isn't 13.5 about the point where the two equalize?
Oh, if you use them right up to that
Yeah,
second.
I would,
Close to it.
that would make sense.
So I know, well, we're running 8,000 to 9,000 a quarter, and I can't figure that out because, with the exception of a couple of things, we have very water efficient,
Yeah,
and we don't have any evidence of leaks either.
yeah.
I guess it's just
Do you water any lawn or anything?
gardens
Yeah.
and whatnot. So we use 8,000 to 9,000 a quarter, and we're water only, but compared to the flat rate, we're saving probably $20 to $25 a quarter over what the flat rate would be.
That makes sense, because you're not using the full 13.
Correct.
So I have the water and sewer rate increases here, but it's not, this is just,
I mean, you can email it to me or whatever. For
Yeah.
now, just in the future, but. So we've gone to 416 homes, and out of those, what was there? There's 72 left that we went to and said that they need a plumber to come and change some things in the house, whether it be galvanized or, a T, or there's not enough room for the meter kind of thing.
saying 72.
There's 72 remaining, so, and 41 have made those changes.
So only 30% or so have done,
36%.
36% have done the change, the modifications.
Yeah. And some are small and some are larger. I mean, and the one bigger hurdle we had is galvanized piping. And I mean, right now we're not touching galvanized pipe just because we don't want it to
How many of
have a
those?
leak or something inside their house.
Yeah.
Out of those, I didn't keep track of which ones are galvanized, which ones don't have room. Those are just all the ones that need some sort of plumbing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, some could be easy and some could take more, but it seems like most, if they hire a plumber, they're able to take a small section of the galvanized out, put in, you know, soft copper or hard copper, and we can hook to that or whatever. We can hook to pretty much everything except for galvanized. That's the only thing that we really haven't.
So you can do packs and everything.
Yeah, we've done aqua packs, you know, the blue and red packs,
Yeah.
you know, all of them. You know. The only thing that we really haven't wanted to touch is galvanized, just because it's really old, dude, you know.
So that would be helpful information for us, is to know how many you think are galvanized.
I could go through
the notes
all
or
the
something.
hard copies, like all the,
Yeah.
because they have a carbon copy to give me when they go and give one to them, and then I get the return, but if they get turned back to me, that's an issue sometimes too, is getting paperwork back, but I could go through them all and mark you know, how many are galvanized out of all of them.
Because we're trying to figure out how many are just gonna be like unmeterable, and if people can't, if it's not feasible to like redo the whole house plumbing out of galvanized.
Which, I mean, it's fine, like, I don't think, like, talking to the plumbers and stuff, that it's much of an issue to them. Like, every plumber I've talked to has been able, like, it's not a huge deal.
It's really just splicing in a piece of copper that you guys
Just
work.
putting in a section of usable pipe,
Yeah.
unless the city wants us to start putting on galvanized, it just don't wanna run the risk of causing a leak, is my opinion about it, and that's kinda what I've been told as well, so that's what I tell people. But, you know, if they wanna hire a plumber to put that section of pipe in, we will come and put it in for free, but a lot of times the plumber's there and it takes them probably 5 minutes, you know, 5 minutes to put it in, versus us going there and just cutting.
Okay, so these aren't technical infeasibilities, these are just things that they just need to do structural, or like modifications before
Right,
you.
and that would be for a galvanized one without like modifications for room. You know, some
Yeah.
will come out of the floor, out of the wall and right to, you know, a valve, and then there's a T, you know, about this far away.
What do you
So there's no room for the meter, so they're gonna have to move that T up, and so we can put our meter below it, so there's no lines going forward, you know.
Okay, so then we don't need that.
But those aren't like major things, you know. There's some of the more major ones are like, there's some down in bluffs where they're on a single service line, or they go into multiple camps, where either they need to go on separate service lines, or you need to, I don't know, you have to meter one, but you want a double meter, you know what I mean? So how, I guess you could come in with a meter and have another one for the other building. But then
So
you'll
there-
still pull through that meter, so you just have to be T.
So there's one city service line in copper, and a homeowner line just goes daisy chaining down
Yeah, you've seen
camps.
it. Yeah, it's like,
Jesus.
it's mostly camps that have that, you know, it's just done back in the day, grandfather kind of thing, where there's just T's everywhere, so it's a nightmare down there.
Is there a way to do, I mean, it's pretty simple mass balance if they're all in series, or if they're in a series, you got 5 meters in a row, you subtract 4 from the fifth, 3 from the second, 2.
Right, but how do you do that with the billing and stuff?
That's what I'm wondering, I don't know if like downstairs could do that sort of,
Or is that where you say that's, you know, not feasible? Like,
That-
where do you draw the
Chip would
line?
have the answer to that.
We can do that in the billing.
I didn't even remember you were here.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Charlie
There's
billing
Brayline.
has the capacity to add, subtract meters all over the place, even across the counts.
So that's how you would want to do it. You'd want a little schematic of how they're laid out in relation to your service meter, then you could do like it's just an additive, it's a reverse additive, right? They're all adding up, you're taking this from the end.
Okay, I didn't know you could do that, so,
Yeah, as an example, I have over 60 mobile homes after a commercial business, and that entire book gets subtracted from the commercial account.
Cool. That's way more complicated than what we're talking about, sounds like. Okay, so like meter them up and then give a schematic, and we'd have to just do a simple.
so it'd have to be a meter in the first home, then on that same line, it would be fine, and then we'd subtract from the meters
Yeah.
from there.
You know, it'd be like an A1 minus B1 minus C1 kind of thing.
I don't think there's like a ton of them like that.
Yeah.
There's a few out there. Then the other issue is just and I think we've gotten some more, but it's the camps that are camps, like, you know, they're shut up for the winter time, so where do you put the meter? And, like, we could put it, like, we could put one underneath the camp, but we strictly told the owner that when you winterize the camp, you're gonna have to either pull the meter, you know, to drain it, so that it freeze or break. You know, is that the right approach with the city and you guys' interpretation of doing that?
I'm not
Is
going
that
by
okay?
it. Do they need to like be physically removed to drain them? You can't like throw glycol in them like an RV kind of
I
thing?
mean, I think you can, but I've talked to,
I guess
Jordan Brock, like I've been there where he winterized a few camps, and he's actually physically pulled the meter out and put it inside of the camp. Like,
Have you ever installed meter pits?
not really here, we have a few, but they're like, there's one at Crowley, you know, for the campground, it's in a meter pit, but that one's taken out and drained. But there is, I think, a meter pit on Willie Street, and that's in a manhole, you know, and that's all winter, so, but that would be really expensive. Yeah.
Much more expensive, but it puts it within your control without having to crawl underneath any structure and remove a meter.
So,
But
I
we,
think we have to find out how
There's
many.
probably an ordinance, and only the city can do it.
No.
yeah, is that a,
I can tell you, yeah. If it's removed, it has to be returned to the city, that's what.
so are we
Yeah.
storing them and giving them back out to put back in?
Okay, here it says, customers shall contact the city to schedule removal and replacement of the meter by or under the supervision of city personnel.
And that's for like a seasonal?
That's for anybody who's touching a meter.
So that's not like a permanent removal, so yeah,
No.
if you're taking it out, put it back in, so do we have to go back there and put it back in?
We were only discussing permanent removals in that section.
Right.
So we have to, you know, we would have to address seasonal, so, and then there's the problem, we're sitting there saying the cost is gonna be borne by the taxpayer. So, you know, there's gonna have to be some compensation if we have to do that to
Right.
install a meter as opposed to, you know, they could do a modification.
Well, yeah, it depends on the relative cost of each of the alternatives.
Yeah.
Are all these camps electrified, you think?
Yeah, most of them, I mean, a lot of these, I don't go out to, I mean, there's
Yeah.
maybe two guys that go out, but I went out on one just the other day, it was, you know, a camp with a crawl space, and it's obviously not insulated, so, and that was the direction, was we showed them how to remove it, but the concern would be, what if they didn't put that meter back in, and they just put a piece of pipe between there?
Oh, sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Does, I mean,
We
are
do
we gonna
get
be able to
9
keep track
meters.
of zeros?
No, you won't be
We're not
able to.
gonna know, right?
You'll be able to-
No, we can't, that's, I brought that, this is a 73, list of 73, either zeros or backwards reads or no reads for however long.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you meant you wouldn't be able to track whether they're putting it back in.
You would be able to at some point, but you'd lose obviously that whole season because it would be.
Zero
they come
in
in
the
May,
peak season.
We'd find out in
Yeah.
August.
I mean, I think in this scenario, I don't think that would happen. I mean, there's gonna be 2 ProPress fittings there and 2, you know, threaded fittings, so you would have to remove all the threaded
Cut it all
fittings
out.
and put 2
Oh,
PRFs in there, so I don't think,
What I'm wondering is like, when it comes to like being eligible for an exemption or whatever the hell we're calling it, to not have a meter, do we require that, like if it's an electrified unit, that they have like heat wrap, pipe wrap, and, you know, an insulated box around the meter? So like, not only is it being electrically warmed all winter long with a thermostat, but it's also in a little,
or so should I not be telling them to remove it? Should I be telling them?
I don't know,
Remove it?
that's what I'm asking.
I think we have to decide. An example would be my camp. I've got electricity, I have got insulation, however, my water comes above ground, but
Yeah.
say it comes in underground. You know, my electric is there, but it's not really on in the winter. It's, you know, it's shut down.
You do.
Do I want to have it where I have to pay for heat tape? And, you know, I would imagine as a homeowner, I would really be concerned of, you know, 5 to 6 months of my house having heat tape operate
Right.
to make sure there's not a problem.
I guess I should maybe ask Jason or some other people about, I mean, some of these camps, if they have an old curb stop valve with a weeper, it'll come back in the ground, so it should theoretically drain
Self-drain.
everything down.
Or
So
it
there should be nothing in the.
Or maybe you install it in a manner that it will drain out if you empty the pipe.
As long as they would have some sort of drain.
The valve below it.
They-
Oh, but then they'd be fucking
They would
siphoning.
have to,
They
because.
could bypass the meter then.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
if
I
you
mean,
don't
but
drain
there
the
is homes
pipes.
out there that have that drain under there, and that's, I mean, a lot.
Mine does, in the basement only though.
Yeah, yeah, a lot of them do.
Am I gonna run a garden with my second story bathroom? I don't think so, like.
Right. But then, you know, it's there.
Good, yeah.
But, that's how people drain their houses off of too.
Yeah.
If it
Yeah.
doesn't work, you know, cause how else you're gonna lose
Yeah.
water somewhere.
I guess, yeah, we do need the city, where the authorized city plumber guy is, to be like, this is how you install it to get it self-drain in a camp, if it's even possible, and if not, then the city would have to either bite the bullet, taking the risk of it being installed where it's likely to drain and not freeze and crack, or just the person would be an exempt.
Like the one we went to, we told him to remove it, but from my understanding, like, it sounds the way he does it, he explained how he's went around his camp, it sounds like it must have a weeper in that curb stop, but I guess there is a way to know, but you have to take a pipe apart to know if it's draining, really. Or unless you might see it come out of the curb box actually, so.
And you'll see it in the spring if the pipes freeze.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know, I think we need someone qualified to tell us
Yeah,
what the
yeah.
serviceable use.
Yeah,
of
you
it is.
don't really wanna pay for frozen pipes.
But it does seem like, I mean, it's been happening, there's camps with meters, cause they've been, when they had to shut the water off, I've seen them drain the meter and store it that way, so, but, you know, a homeowner's probably a little bit different than a plumber doing it, you know? To some extent, you know, unless they're really what they're doing, but, so I guess, I don't know, we'll just have to figure out what the direction you want me to go with it on that, is whether to tell them to remove it, or do I just say you're responsible for not freezing? Do whatever you need to do, but we don't really wanna move it, you know, taking it out, I guess.
This is a little bit of a cart and a horse thing, because we don't know who's gonna be eligible for a waiver yet, like an exemption from a meter yet. And it all depends on what we think is achievable from the.
Right,
plumbing
and then I
perspective.
guess we need to know that,
And then you
going
guys-
out there.
Yeah, and you guys.
Cause right now, we're just kinda like, you need a meter,
Yeah.
and this is kinda not the greatest setup, but here's your meter, you're responsible for it not to freeze. But if a seasonal home that isn't insulated is gonna be exempt from that, or some sort of other pay structure for them to pay, I
It's
don't
the
know.
simplest thing, is just to have the seasonal homes as being automatically exempt. You charge.
You might, but I think potentially, when you go out, maybe if you could track what the ones you know are seasonal, gonna shut down, where you should have or should pull the meter. And if we know how many we're dealing with, I think that would help us. You
Right.
know, are we dealing with 100 out of the 400 meters we need, or is it 10, or is it 50? You know, it's gonna make a real cost differential.
Right.
And then we have to consider the people who already are seasonal and are doing something about their meter, well, what happens when the next generation comes?
Right, and it's very difficult to tell, because sometimes they may be there, sometimes they may not.
Yeah.
You know, obviously there's ones that are not insulated at all, just
Yeah.
wood walls, and that's
Yeah.
not, you know, that would be an easy one, but there's
Yeah.
some that are insulated, they still leave,
Yeah,
and then sometimes maybe they'll stay one winter, a year
Yeah.
older, so it's
Yeah.
all.
yeah, because you see that in the shut-offs, and we could track some of them
Yeah.
with the shut-offs
Yeah,
and
you're right.
turn back
Yeah,
ons.
that's a good idea.
Yeah,
Yeah, because they have a schedule for that, and it's
yeah,
fairly usually the same, I think. I did only
Yeah.
1 year when we changed hands on there, so it for a little while.
yeah, it looks, you know, it's consistent numbers enough that I stopped tracking the numbers, you know, but you do have some that turn on at odd times and turn off at odd times.
Right.
You know, they come in the middle of December for, you know, whatever it is, 2 weeks, and then they, you know, get it shut off again.
Yeah. Does the rate change when they shut the water off, or does that stay the same?
No, it stays the same.
Okay.
If they're on a meter, it's gonna be usage no matter what, and their base rate is gonna be there.
Right.
But, you know, anybody who's vacant or shut off is paying the base
Right, so I just want to make sure I
Yeah.
have a clear understanding of how that was.
at this point in time.
I just sent you the rates effective November 1st.
Yeah.
So out of that 370 that are still unmetered, does that include the ones that you visited and need
Yeah,
modifications?
yeah, so it would include that.
Okay,
Say it
so
was.
there's about 70 of those.
About 70 of them we've been to, so I mean, I guess it'd be 300 that we haven't been to. So look, I mean, this could be a little bit off, but then they work back or something messed up, but about 300 houses that I guess we haven't been to at all.
I mean, when you say been to, is that you go and knock on doors, is that a
Oh,
door hanger, is
sorry,
that a
no,
letter?
every
Is that-
house in the
yeah.
cities we've gone to and doing the door hanger twice.
Wow,
We've done
okay.
it, yeah,
In the past year?
since we started,
Oh.
yeah. And that
Cold
was-
out.
Yeah. And about 300 haven't called or scheduled. And I have had people be like, I didn't call, they call me back, and I'm really usually pretty good about it, so either I've called back and they never called me back, but I have had a few people be like, well, you never called me back, but they never called in, so I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And just trying to do that on top of my regular duties. You know?
Yeah. So, this is a dumb question, we've already done this much exercise once, is it worth getting a subscription to White Pages and calling 300 people instead of 1,200 or whatever it was that Carl?
Well, we probably have the 300 already with, have their phone numbers, but whether their phone numbers are valid or not
Yeah.
is potentially the problem.
And there was one other issue that I saw with it. Some of these homes that were bringing the papers to, they're vacant, you know, or they're a camp that no one's been to in years. So the door hanger is gonna be there, but unless we mail it out to them, to whoever's paying the bill, they don't get the notice. You know, so
Mhm.
there's a handful that maybe haven't gotten the physical card that's on the door. They probably know about it, but maybe we send it out. And with the bills.
Do you have a list of the ones you've been to?
We have sent it out in the bills.
Yeah,
Yeah.
There's
So
been
that's-
big fat yellow flyers in the bills, what, twice now?
yeah, but, you know, I have to admit, 90% of people ignore
No.
those things.
Well, what, they're not gonna read a letter then?
Yeah, I mean, I guess.
Well,
I guess
no, a
you'd have
letter
to
that's
build it
not
both
along with
ways.
the bill, you might have a good chance,
Really? Okay.
yeah. You know, something comes at an odd time that you aren't expecting, it might catch your eyes.
I don't get the updates from this, these meetings often, so are you guys at a point where you feel like you've satisfied, noticed everybody, you've done the door hanger?
We're getting there.
Fire mail, so you must be,
We're getting there. I think, if we wanted to try an out-of-building cycle mailing to these 300 people,
Yeah.
that might be worth it, but at a certain point, we just need to figure out when the due date is for either scheduling a meter, or having an inspection that would require modification. Like, if you're a no-call, no-show, there's gotta be a deadline for at least making a step forward. And we
Well,
haven't
we're
set
gonna
that.
have to give them notice, which I think is in the new,
Well, yeah,
I couldn't download everything, so I haven't read through it.
the other aspect of it is that the mayor sent me a note that says that he would be happy to, I'll read it. I am happy to coordinate a special mailing out of the city office to just the individuals who have not requested an installation, and to help find a way to accomplish another round of door hangers. So he's suggesting exactly the out-of-sequence mailing.
Yeah,
And that
I think do that and scratch the door hangers if nobody's being there.
Well, the only value I see in the door hangers approach is, are you able to go to these people and schedule a visit if you actually catch them there? Or do you have to go back to the office and follow up?
I have to go back, I mean, and the other part of it is getting, you know, talking to whoever's hanging the door hangers to try to engage
Yeah,
with someone if they're home.
yeah.
'Cause they might get the door hanger and they just throw it on the table and they don't have a call.
Yeah, that's the thing, if you,
You're
but
right.
you can catch them in the yard.
Yeah, and if they're there and they talk to somebody, usually I just tell them to call me right off and I'll get them in, because right now I can pretty much put whatever, you know, make it work for you, just move the guys in,
Okay.
but yeah, I mean, I think some of it is just being there and engaging with them, and then you could go see, you know, if they let you in, to go you know, see the pipes and see. You
Yeah.
can almost give them an instant answer right there, to
Oh,
let
yeah.
them know whether we can do it or not.
Yeah.
Here's a question, can you use like a Google Calendar if you have open bookings? That somebody can be there, if they capture somebody, they say, okay, we have, you know, open bookings on this time,
Yeah.
and just schedule them right in.
I mean, theoretically, right now I could, because I
Yeah.
don't think I have a single one for this
Yeah.
month Like,
Okay.
I think we had a few early on,
I
but.
could give you
Right,
this list
but-
of problems.
But
with
your
it.
door hanger kids, they're like interns or summer employees?
No, we have our regular employees.
Oh, okay, okay, so are they able to do the same thing with calendar, like book? Or is it just few select people?
It's just like at the garage, Google Calendar, no, I mean, I could put it probably on a tablet maybe.
Or
But
you
it's
should be
all
able to have it online, and
online
as long
tablet,
as
so.
they have access to.
That's what I'm saying,
email.
like, do these
Yeah.
people who are not gonna, do they have access and could book right there? Anybody at DPW could do that over a cell phone or a tablet or
If they
something?
wanna log on to that on their cell phones, you can.
Yeah.
People who don't wanna do city business on the phone at all,
Sure,
period, so,
Yeah,
and that's the other.
Okay,
I mean, if there was a designated phone for them to use, or,
well, maybe we start with the mailing, out of cycle mailing, and then follow up with maybe less than 300.
well, I did notice when we did do the door hangers, and it was very repetitive, but we put them out, and I would start with a few phone calls, so even though we just like the second time, or, you know, even if we had to do a third time, I guess, they would start to call again, you know, it was like a reminder to call, but not all of them obviously would call, you'd get a handful, you know, you'd get maybe 10.
And do you change up the language? Is it getting stronger or slash if we're revising the ordinance?
The
Is-
first one, I Tom did the first one, or you guys made the first one. I then did the second one, I don't know who did the second one, I don't think it changed at all. I just said second notice. That was,
I don't even think I've seen them.
in my email signature, it's kind of like a Google Meet thing, but to your point of, it can just be a short link where people go to it, and then it's a calendar where they schedule time to have a
Yeah.
visit or a consultation, and that takes away the guys having to use their phone to log in.
Hmm.
And, but it would take you slash your crew to block out times and make sure that that calendar is actually accurate, because sometimes, like, I had to change my settings, because people could make a meeting with me 30 minutes beforehand, or if I didn't put, oh, I have my doctor's appointment and block it on my calendar. Anyways, that's just a suggestion to, like, change up the language and maybe eliminate that stuff, so that it's just easier for people. Most people have internet on there.
so would that be just like a link they go to and schedule a time?
Yeah, mine's called Calendly, but it's free,
Yeah.
and that's one way.
That might be a way of curing it, also saying that the ordinance is being adopted with this new language of, you know, you fail to do this, you're gonna be slapped with, you know,
Yeah.
some incredible stuff. You board, Chip?
Send it out on pink paper.
We've done yellow.
Went
Yeah,
orange.
pink is a disconnect notice,
Oh, pink's, yeah, okay, yeah, pink's love that.
There you go.
right? And
Okay, yeah.
it's not a disconnect notice, but the attention will be drawn because it says water department on it and it's pink.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Okay,
And that way, I don't know, that way you feel, if you change the language and give them a heads up the ordinance is changing, you can feel good that you gave proper notice too.
Yeah.
I don't want anyone like, this is out of the blue, I didn't get proper warning,
Mhm.
you know?
So you're thinking the third round door hangers with different language? I mean, I'm not opposed, it's not like there's, at least there's 700 homes to go to. and
No,
it's half
yeah.
the amount,
Yeah.
so.
And if the door hanger, if the out of cycle mailing gets you another 100, then there's only 200 knock on. So,
And do we go to even the ones have all, I'd put them on the alteration ones too, right?
yeah, a follow up,
Kind of
I would
like
like
a little
7 to something
Yeah.
of this.
Yeah.
you
that's what I-
have a list of the ones that need alterations?
Yeah.
It kind of sounds like two different notices, but
Yeah.
Yeah,
if you have yet to, you know, have your
Should we
deficiencies.
put it all on one thing, or do we, you think that?
ah,
I think that people might disregard it. If it doesn't
Yeah.
apply to them, they might get confused and throw it away.
attention span is probably the first 2 lines, you know, pink paper, you might get to 4 lines, then you're going to probably overwhelm them, yeah,
Sorry to make it difficult.
yeah.
No, it's not really that much more difficult, just separate the addresses.
And then maybe if it's nice weather, we could, you know, wrap the committee into, you know, doing, you know, it's when you're walking the dog, you know, Patrick can hang
Knocking
some-
on them? Oh, sure, yeah. Okay,
Good.
alright.
Any other questions on this, or is there anything else that you think we should know?
No, I think that's fairly it.
Mhm.
For now, I mean, I talked to Jason, we have 10 meters on hand, you order 30 more. I'm assuming we're probably gonna keep it
tight.
30, 40 at a time max. In case a bunch don't go in, I guess, I don't know.
Are you addressing some of the problem readers? Because Robin printed out a list from the May building of.
I guess that's part of the, no, because I don't know if
Okay.
that doesn't make its way to me, maybe goes to Jason, probably goes to Jason.
Okay. So what would it be best if these are meters that aren't reading, don't seem to be reading, might not even exist?
If-
There's a whole, there's a list here. I'm not sure the color coding's from Robin. I know one of these has already been addressed, because the owner, I'll toss it off here, realized it was off again, on again, meter reading. And so he called it in. But we got one at North Country Hospital that is rollover. There's some missing reading, and a lot of them are no consumptions. So I don't know if you recognize any of those, whether it would be valid to reach out to those people, or, have your group reach out, or one of the committee, see?
I would assume that Jason would probably, Jason has the ability to data log and do all that other
Okay.
stuff with the meter. Usually it goes to him. I mean, if it has to come to us, we can try to
Okay,
fit it in, I guess,
okay, and
but, or we
then,
can work with Jason if he needs help on it.
Okay. okay, so we'll bring that up to Jason.
But yeah, usually he handles any of the
Okay.
data logging and complaints on the usage, so.
And he's the one who has the daily, pulls from the wellhead?
Yeah,
Yeah, okay,
yeah, the wastewater
yeah,
facility.
yeah, okay. Need to get those things too. Yeah,
I don't know, that's all the stuff he handles, so.
okay, all right,
Okay, so I'm gonna send an email to that chain, just with follow-up, because number 2 and number 5 on the agenda, we just covered. It's our aggressive strategy. So, we're gonna mail, out of cycle, mailing, pink notice for one subgroup of no call, no shows, and another group of the modifications required. Okay, and then follow up door hanger around 3 for those who don't respond to that pink notice.
Yeah.
And then you're gonna look into, you're gonna consult with Jason and others about meter, overwintering, draining, freezing
Right.
limitations.
And I guess once I hear from him, I just let you guys know, let Tom know, I guess, and, whether you're gonna, measure it on the road at a seasonal rate versus having to, if we run into these, do we?
Sounds like we're just gonna, for the first 5 years, do the unmetered rate, the infeasible rate.
Well, yeah, we'll have to figure out some consistent plan for all of them.
Right, cause you're just gonna have like the neighbor who does one, and then the other one's gonna be like, oh, mine was infeasible and it's identical to yours now, since we put that one in already, so.
Yeah.
It might have some people kind of complain about it, but I guess until we know exactly what the standard is, where's the line.
Yeah. Yeah, and your guys are gonna set the line, the limitations for the meter conditions, and then we can make informed decisions about, okay, then who's eligible for a waiver. Okay, so out of cycle notice, follow door hangers, consulting with Jason and others about overwintering. There's one other thing that we're gonna look into.
I'll follow up with the rollovers and this list with Jason, and also get the, consumption stuff, because I'm the one who's looking for that.
Okay.
No.
Oh, like the comparables?
Just how much water's coming out of the well on
Oh,
a daily
okay.
basis. We have daily figures, so we can track them closer to the timing of when we do the meter readings.
Okay.
Before we had monthly, so it just was, it was a little more arbitrary than being able to know that we're reading within these days at the end of the month, at the beginning of the month.
What's the usual like loss amount?
At this point, probably over 50%.
And that's accounted for leaks and everything, right?
That is unmetered, and we're also, the other thing we're seeing is a real drop off in use. The more meters we have, the less use we have. So that's part of the whole thing. And I think 22 million gallons or something, you know, but I have a feeling, I've got to double check because we've got the hospital in Columbia Forest Products go over 1 million gallons, and it reads differently as a result of that. So there's some corrections that need to be in there. But I just floated the figures, but I think, as a matter of fact, I think I didn't email them to myself, and it's on the other computer. But I should have printed one out.
300 how many?
70.
370 unmetered.
And that's an approximate.
Yeah, I'm thinking about.
I think because Stacy's number she gave me once was a little bit different, and then Stacy's retired, so I gotta work with Robin a little bit to try to figure out.
Okay, but that's
Robin
But that
has
should
some.
be pretty close to what it is.
Part of their problem is the way they end up handling ones that aren't producing data. So you've got a confusion that's there, but I can do it for the May billing if I can bring this up. Because I just got it and I can't remember the figures on it. But we do have it on every monthly basis, or every reading basis. We've got those figures. Let me see if, because she noted it on the bottom of her sheet.
Should we, at some point, aim to like set a date for contacting DPW before penalties are applied or whatever?
Well, until one, the ordinance amendment was adopted,
Okay, right.
and two, we adopted a rate schedule. We're not in a position to do that.
Okay, good, thank you.
I think that,
Okay.
I wanted to, I heard something that I think is important, and I don't know if that would be this, or Carrie has also talked about it, but, having an explainer for the bill is really key, and I think it'd be really nice to have something like that on the website. And then if anybody comes into the office, Gary could print it out and hand it to them, just to explain, because there's a lot of nuance and complexity. And you could have one that is for metered and unmetered, or what's the difference if you're commercial or businesses. So I don't know if there's something like, if that is something you guys have done or looked into.
Does it still say connection fee on there? That was been
They changed it.
That was changed.
Oh, good.
With
Because I was
this
getting
last
calls
billing.
like nonstop. I already paid the
Right.
I'm like, yeah, it doesn't mean that.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it's your base rate, but the wording was just like,
Well,
Yeah.
yeah.
which I could understand the confusion, but it was like
Yeah.
constant phone calls. And
Well,
like,
before it was equally as confusing. According to Robin, we spend out, or at least the May billing was 1,803 bills went out, and 1,378 meters were read, which means there are 425 non-metered accounts. But those are the vacant, those are, everything.
that's, you said, well, how much?
425, if I did my math right.
That's what she asked for unmetered?
No,
So, 55 difference from what I have. So I have to figure out if I can get that list and compare it to the ones I have, I guess.
yeah. And I don't know, that's a question for Chip, who is gonna screen Patrick, in your ear practically, not intentionally. Chip, can we get a list of the people who are not metered off of the NEMRIC, system?
So I have to qualify that because you can have a meter and be a zero bill with a meter.
Yeah,
Meaning we give you the water for free. Let's say the rec department,
yeah.
where there's meters but we don't bill them.
Yeah, we've got
Then we have
those.
others that are established with a flat rate,
Yeah.
unmetered flat rate. That list is easy because we've assigned them a rate that says they are unmetered.
Okay, so we could get those figures and we can adjust for, he's right, we've got 8 accounts that are city accounts that come in differently for the sewer treatment plant. You know, we've got umpteen vacant on this list. There are a lot of seasonals or ones that are vacant. So we've got some of that, so we'd be able to tell, we get fairly close, you know.
Are the vacant homes built differently too, or that's just something weird?
Vacant is done differently. They only pay the base charge. Seasonal, can be different. But I think if there's no use, they wouldn't be built for use. Ledges is different, of course. We've got out-of-town ones, some being just water, some being water and sewer, some just, one being at least only sewer. So we've got those quirks also.
And I'm trying to think, we had one, the guys were doing the building. So the plumbing's like, he's redoing the plumbing, but he wanted the meter put in, so he qualified as having a meter, although he's using no water.
Yeah. So he-
Is it cheaper for him to have that meter then?
Um,
Cause he wanted the meter, and we made a way like, we can, but you gotta have an adequate space to us to put it in, so then when you do finally hook it up, it's there.
yeah.
Is that a good direction to go with that, or do we just,
It technically, it should be the same, because it's not reading, and they'd have a base charge, so if he's hooked to the system, it should be exactly the same. I'll double check and get back to you on it, but it should be the exact same billing amount.
Well, because the unmetered is a flat rate.
Yeah,
is
uh,
vacant different from that?
vacant is,
He
yeah,
would be paying the vacancy rate out of
Yeah. yeah, which would be cheaper than the base flat rate. If he's paying the flat rate, it would be, you know, vacant, it would be the base rate plus 13,000 gallons, so he is saving.
How do you know when there's vacancy after?
Basically, we do it by your reading.
But if they don't have a meter?
The problem is, we don't necessarily know, and that's why we want a meter, because we do know, I mean, there's the famous property that ended up getting water for years. Nobody billed them until it came up that they did the land transfer,
Right.
and it came up, you know, water and sewer, and they're going, oh, we don't have any. Yeah. But it is, you know, and I'm flooring the ones who are just water only and without sewer. And you can see they're all located, yes, the bluffs, it's, you know, it's certain sections of the city that have no connection to the city sewer. Yeah, but there are a lot of those too.
But the one I'm thinking of is vacant, but he's probably not paying the vacant rate, it was probably just unmetered because I don't think it was that long, but. So if we put the meter in there, then it should be good once he turns everything on, we don't remove the meter.
Yeah.
And then, so should there be a thing where if we have zeros that we go check on these places?
I
Other
think
than
on some of these we do because
Yeah.
we don't know. You know, and some of these, I mean, we've got a group down, you know, like Railroad Square, you know, they're all different locations. You know, there's one on Elm Street, maybe it is vacant, you know. And we've got all these figures, you know. Second no consumption last read was August, September. One is August and September of 22. You know, so, you know, it is one of those things. But if they have a water connection to their property, they get charged. Which is why, you know, like Pool and Grain said they wanted theirs capped off, I think they were the one, to avoid paying, you know, the charge.
Yeah, and I think you guys had a conversation about what's actually kept off of it at the main, or,
Yeah,
I don't wanna get down whatever.
Yeah,
You
you
guys
don't-
have
yeah,
probably more
yeah.
stuff to talk to.
Yeah, Tom has definite feelings
Yeah.
about that subject.
yeah. So, you know, we're trying to do it so it's gonna be the easiest going down the road for all of you guys.
Yeah.
But
No,
I'll
it's
find
good
out
to-
about the
Good to know.
vacant rate with, having installed a meter, you know. And if it's a new construction, is it, or is it a rehab?
This would be like a rehab. If
Okay,
it was like a non-metered home, and he wanted the meter, so it'd be cheaper, but he hadn't done all the work he wanted to do. So the water was gonna stay off, but he wanted the meter, so it's gonna read 0,
Yeah,
but he wanted the base rate of the meter. I don't think he maybe understood that it's not a huge savings on it. you know?
it
is some, but-
could be because it gets classified as new construction, and at some point he probably is afraid he doesn't get the meter now, he'll have to buy the meter.
Okay.
So he's gonna save himself, potentially $500.
Is that the course that people don't get now, that they're gonna have to buy?
New construction, new construction is always required, people buy the meters.
Yeah,
Okay, I don't know if that, if we were, I didn't know that for sure.
yeah.
Fortunately, it's not that much of that
Yeah, we
going on.
haven't heard, it's like, yeah, it was one thing on council is we got, the first application I have seen in the last year and a half was turn on water, it's the first one, so that's
Oh,
not
really?
been,
Okay,
it's
so that's
not
not a
been
big
new,
issue.
yeah.
There's not a lot that falls into that category.
Yeah,
Okay,
and zoning should technically pick it up, and we do pick up on
okay, so
water
that's not a big
allocation.
for us,
Yeah.
okay, good.
Yeah, it is very possible, yeah, it is,
Sure.
somebody's gonna sneak by.
Yeah,
We're sure of that, but,
yeah, good information, thank you.
Last thing I'm including is this, is that we're in that situation where there's 5 hookups on a single service line, how we can meter them all, do some math, and bill them all accordingly.
Yeah.
So, you guys will have to be responsible for figuring out the layout for those hookups, but it sounds like Chip can work with people downstairs to actually get it sorted out for building.
I mean, there's probably gonna be 2 or 3 of those, but I know they exist. So.
yeah.
At least I know we can probably do something
If they're insulated.
Well, there are probably neighborhoods where houses or the original core of houses were part of, cottage colonies down on the bluffs.
yeah.
I'm thinking like Hayes Beach would be an example of those. where
Yeah,
half
like
acres-
Camp Elizabeth down there. and
Yeah,
all that.
same idea.
Yeah.
There was one property at one time with some of the seasonal places all owned by the same person,
Yeah,
Yeah.
weekly rentals or whatever.
right.
Yeah.
So, good. Any other questions for Corey?
No?
I have one quick clarifying question, because I'm new here. Where it looks like, it sounds like we've been talking about home/residential, but have all businesses and commercial properties been metered? Or is that included in this number? We just kind of,
No, not all have been metered.
What are
okay.
we missing, do you know?
Yeah, there's a list of them, I don't have it, right here. But there are, I think, 16 of them,
Okay.
and, none of them are high users. This is one of the things, and right now, we've got, one where they're paying, I think, $200 as opposed to paying, basically a, 80 or maybe $120. They don't necessarily realize how much they're saving because of what their monthly cost is and how many gallons they have to be using. And they aren't high-use places at all. But we do have to pick them up. More important is the apartments. And there are 38 complexes and representing, I think, 60, I guess I probably still have it up, maybe 60 units. Some of them have changed, yeah. There are 29 accounts and there are 61 units. So these are duplexes and triples. And I think, with the duplex, it's somebody's home, so it's probably not going to garner that much, but they aren't metered.
I've had a few people complain that they want to put a meter in, but then they can't break out who owes what. Because we're not giving out 2 meters for like duplexes, right? We're just doing 1 meter. They need to figure out whether they do their own meter to separate the 2 apartments or they just bill them evenly.
This is in like a converted single family.
Yeah, like where you have a
I think
duplex.
that's on them, right? Because it's one service line.
I think I'm gonna leave
And
it.
there's been some people who just don't want to do that because they live there, but then the people that they rent to just use a ton of water.
How do the other apartment complexes work? Is-
I think almost all of the apartment complexes, to everybody's complaint, it's 1 meter.
And with 1 meter, landlords build, and then
Yeah.
landlord just figures out how to apportion it as part of the rent.
Yeah,
Yeah, so that's exactly it.
yeah. I'll double check downstairs because we don't really have a coding I could see. I just know based on the base charge that they pay, that, you know, you see it's 2, 3, or 4 units. We might have had one that was a 5-unit, but looking at, you know, the changes, I'm not sure, you know.
Well, that would be sort of like the complex where my office is.
Yeah,
When I first moved there, the Village of Derby Center actually sent every specific business in the place a bill.
mhm,
And how they came up with the figures is way beyond me, but then at some point, they decided, well, you know, if we have 1 meter going into the whole place, we're going to send 1 bill to the landlord.
yeah,
And my bill was pretty minimal at the time.
mhm,
An office with 5 people working in it,
yeah,
and that was it, so.
yeah.
But, yeah, I think it changed when they switched from essentially flat rate billing to metering. When they metered, they decided they'd send 1 bill to the landlord, and that was up to the landlord to figure it out.
Certainly that's cheaper if they put in the meters, yeah.
Tweak the rent.
The only place I think I've seen that is actually broken out with, is the condos. The
Yeah.
condos, and that's probably the condos, I would assume, versus apartments.
Yeah,
Because each one has.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
up on the hill at Newport, views, each one has its own meter.
yeah.
That's good.
At least 2 of them, the 2 newer ones, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Memphremagog views, and there's another one which is, I think, well, it's on this side of town.
Well, you get the little 2-unit condo on the bluffs on the lake,
Yeah,
and then.
no, this is
the Mount Vernon Estates,
multi.
the golf course,
Oh,
that's 60
Estates, no, States Drive is the
Pine
condo.
Bluff by the hospital.
Okay, Estates Drive has, a grouping, but I don't know that those are condos.
There are condos
Yeah.
on the States Drive.
Yeah, because that, by the coding of how the bill is.
I think some are still not metered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can look because I have all of those indicators. Yeah,
And then the ones up by the golf course,
those are all individual.
those would all be.
Yeah. Yeah.
The way those are built, it would be easy enough because they have a lower level with the garages and all the
Yeah.
infrastructure's in there.
And it does help that the person who built them was on the first floor, and so
That too, yeah. So we knew the drill.
yeah, he did, yeah,
So,
okay.
good. Any other questions for Cory? If not, we appreciate your coming in.
Yeah, thank you.
Very helpful.
Can you send me some of the minutes from your guys' meetings so I just kind of stay with?
We don't have like formal minutes typically, but what I just sent you is what we've just kind of debriefed.
Yeah,
I sent it.
next going forward, you know?
Yeah, we can try to be better about that.
Just so I have a general idea of where you guys are at, so I can kind of at least meet with Tom and know what we
Honestly,
say or
I
change or.
wish you were here every week, or every time we visit. Not every week, but
Yeah.
whenever we visit.
I can come whenever, you know. It helps me out too, so I know what's going on.
Yeah.
As you're interacting with the
Yeah.
public, so
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, it helps to have the better answers sometimes, but no, whatever, just let me know.
Okay.
Yep.
And then you can always tune in on NEK-TV.
I have a couple
Stimulating
times, like if I'm
conversation.
plowing or something, I'll listen in the background, but
Wow, committed.
other than like
Okay,
at home,
great.
I'm not going to, sorry.
Yeah.
So we can expect you'll catch up on this meeting about December 30th, right?
Maybe,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, just send me an update, and if you need anything, just let me know.
Thank you.
Alright, alright, thanks.
Thank you.
Okay. So, yeah, the other thing that you brought up, the variation on the FAQ word explainer, we've discussed that before, and I think, I've forgotten, I'd have to go back and look, I think we're waiting for more information before we do that. But we may be at the point where it makes sense to put something together
Mhm.
in terms of explaining the rate structure.
Yeah. So that would be like slipped in with a bill.
Yeah, could be, or posted on the website.
So what I'm wondering is if like there's a way, and Chip, this would be helpful for you, if there's a way on like that bill printout, if we could have again, a link or a QR code that takes you to a page, like, wanna learn, trying to understand your water bill, click here or something. And it takes you to a page where this is all available, not just a single mailing, but like every bill. It's like, understanding your water bill, follow this link to a page. 'Cause I don't know if that's possible in the print,
Yes,
okay.
both. We do have accounts that have an image on their bill with a QR code, and others that just in a comment put a URL that is either permanently printed on the bill if it's pre-printed or on plain paper just added.
Yeah, I think that'd be helpful.
The problem we have is not many lines for billing out different rates.
That's why it wouldn't be on the bill, it'd just be like a little
the address,
text box
yeah,
that
yeah.
says,
Yeah.
scan this QR code or follow, or type in this link to learn about your water sewer bill,
Yeah.
Cause then it's perpetual, it's every quarter, you're gonna get that.
Yeah.
I'll put that in this too.
Okay, so,
Just like the tax bill, you could have pre-printed on the back side all kinds of information.
Yeah, Chip, what would you call that in NEMREC or whatever?
I typically refer to it as comments on a bill.
Okay,
They can be user defined or they can be pre-printed all the time. And it all is dependent upon what you want to do for a bill form.
so,
okay,
so if
And
they're,
if in the future you actually go to a print and mail service where everything is done via PDF through a mailing house, then the options expand again.
sure, yeah.
Noted.
so the pre-printed ones, as opposed to just using regular paper, would just have all that information on the backside. I mean,
Yeah, like a property tax bill comes and it's pre-printed on the back side usually for all the stuff the state requires. And you can do the same thing on the back of a utility bill with a single tear-off stub on the bottom.
Yeah, I think what they do here is they put a separate sheet of paper in with all the state information. I don't remember
Yeah,
things printed on the backside of the tax bill per se. They just use plain paper for the tax bill.
well, that's kinda why I think it should be front and center, right? Cause you got your tear off slip at the bottom, right? But there's a big opening center right of that bill where it could just be like a text box with QR code. That way nobody's gotta have pre-ordered paper and you gotta put in the printer upside down and all that crap. I think it'd just be front and center, I don't know, keep it simple, stupid, like. I'll put it in there for
And right
fun.
now, everything I think is simply typed, if you will. There is no pre-designed report form that is generated.
Yeah.
And we've even done that as well, where we have a pre-designed report form, and we just fill that in and print the whole thing out on plain paper.
Yeah.
So there's lots of variations out there of how the bill gets done.
Okay.
So that's something
Does NIMRIC have examples of the various, bill formats?
No,
Okay. I was hoping.
They can change at a moment's notice in 5 minutes. Every time somebody prints a bill and they want to make a change, I can make a change in minutes.
Yeah.
So a sample is basically what you have in front of you, and then dream of what you want.
Okay.
Okay, so with that, let's turn to the budget numbers. And we all have the, printouts here, so, you're on, Chip.
Okay, which you want to go through first, balance sheets or budgets?
Well, let's do balance sheets first.
Should I share my screen, or are y'all just gonna follow along as I talk?
I think everybody has a copy, so we can follow along.
Okay, so starting page 1 and 2, sewer fund is in the top center of the balance sheet. The highlight areas that I want you to consider at this point in time. Second line down, unbilled revenue for sewer. That number cannot be adjusted until we do our next set of bills, because that number represents 2 months of usage, which doesn't get billed until September. And depending upon the actual bills that get produced to be paid, that 268 that is an unbilled sewer will alter, but typically not alter by much. All of the fixed assets, which begin 08/10006, have been adjusted for fiscal year '26. What that means is that all capital assets that were bought as expenditures got removed from the expense lines and placed into capital assets for depreciation over time. And depreciation over time is based on the life of an asset, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 years, depending upon what the asset is. We did this year for '26, the department heads went through and identified as much equipment as they could that was listed by KBS, the former auditor, that was no longer in existence or in use. And for both water and sewer, there was as much as $800,000 worth of fully depreciated assets that got removed from the system. The highlight, it's the low light, last item on the assets, due to from other funds, on your report shows negative $140,913.44. That means that in terms of cash activity, the sewer fund ended the year owing the general fund that amount of money. I happened to look up the sewer deficit note values in the certificate of the cash flow that had indicated in '26 our maximum cash flow deficit was going to be $1 million, actually $1,057,000, and we only borrowed $874,000. And so looking at the difference between those, 187, and we're only down 140, I think we've done all right. The question that was asked at one of the city council meetings was, is this possibly related to the purchase of the Vector truck that was split across 3 funds? Yes. Correct answer, yes.
Can you tell
Coming
us
through the liabilities, all of the notes payable that are in the 08-200-12 series, there's a 16 series, those have all been reduced at the end of '26 by the principal payments that were paid in FY '26 that were budgeted expenditures. So those are now the value of principal owed on the notes as of June 30. Some adjustments yet to be made are all the areas that are 08-200-10 and 11. Those continue to be changed based upon analysis that has now taken place for both payroll and debts whose payments were made before June 30, and we're supposed to book the amount of interest that would have been accrued on those debts through June 30, and have those show on the balance sheet as additional liabilities.
Are
So
they
the
changing
two-
up or down?
Yeah, I think it's gonna go up primarily because we increased our debt by $874,000. And so the payments for that, I believe, were made in February and then one in May. And so we may have a month more interest on that. Otherwise, all the other notes payable debts went down. And the deferred inflows for Beamers, are simply an accounting practice that's required because the GASB rules changed to keep CPAs employed.
Do we have a better explanation for that? It's a considerable amount of money to keep you employed. I assume you're a CPA.
No, I'm not a CPA, but I play one on TV.
Okay.
Then when you're looking at the fund balance at the end of last year, which would have been fiscal year 25, ended $789,367.46. By far, the majority of that is fixed assets. It is not cash, was not cash, because when we ended last year, we owed more than that amount of money to the general fund.
Chip, can I ask you, we committed to paying, I think it was maybe 5% for creating a capital reserve. No money ever went in there this year.
The entry hasn't been made yet.
Okay.
There
When
will
that
be
happen?
a separate line under fund balance that will read capital reserve. And the entry we made is to take it out of the fund balance, put it into capital reserve, because at year close, fund balance will be adjusted back up. Page 2, the only line out there, fund balance current year. Fund balance current year is made up of actual revenues less actual expenditures. And this year, sewer indicates it is ahead by $1 million. When we do the budgets for sewer, I'll point out a couple things that have been booked already in anticipation of invoices yet to come. One of the water fund balance sheet. Same condition for the unbilled revenue for water. Until we get to September, we don't know what number is going to be made to adjust for that. Again, the fixed assets, 9010006 have all been adjusted for capital purchasing in FY26. The Beamer's deferral is there. And you can notice there's a prepaid expense of $211,000. That is, I believe, the arsenic payment that gets made in June, but is owed July 1st. And so that's why it shows as a prepaid expense.
What is that for?
I don't think we have
Arsenic debt,
Oh, okay.
It's on page 2, I think.
Is it 07-81-00?
Yes.
Yes, yeah,
Okay,
first section, assets,
yeah, 211,000,
Yeah.
211,655.
yeah.
So it's owed July 1, 26, but in order to get there on time, it has to be paid in June, practically speaking.
practically speaking, yes. And then the due to from right now stands $197,942.66, meaning that the general fund is holding cash on behalf of the water fund net activity. Some of the fund questions we still haven't been able, I still haven't been able to get answered. We have a retainage payable in both water and sewer for major projects that have gone on. And though everything is in service, I don't know if the vendor has been paid or not at this point. Part of it as well is some of our vendors have not given us invoices for their final payments for everything that has actually been done prior to June 30. So these numbers, again, are subject to change, but they have been considered as expenditures already, was part of our adjustments at year end, anticipating invoicing that we know exists, but as soon as the contractor and the engineer agree they will release us the invoice to pay.
Chip,
The big note,
Chip,
Yes.
what is CIP? It was both in the water
construction
fund and the
in
sewer.
progress.
I'm sorry?
Construction in progress.
Thank you.
So construction in progress is accumulated. It does not start depreciation until it goes into service. Liabilities, third one down. That's our big water tower bond that we just took with the Vermont Municipal Bond Bank, $2.603 million. As of June 30, we have not made any payments on it. The same accrual for the 092, 0010s and 11s have not been calculated yet. But you see that the interest accrual that is $33,000 hanging from last year will definitely increase because of a $2.6 million bond. A month's interest on that is going to cause that to go up, cause our expenditures to go up as well. All of our other notes that are in the 0920012s are accurate to the principal balance owed June 30th. Again, the Beamer's deferred inflow and pension liabilities required by GASB. Again, fund balance at the end of FY25, $3 million was our fund balance. Guaranteed, that was all construction in progress and was not cash. Because at the end of 25, the water fund was carrying about $140,000 in the general fund. And that's it. We had closed all those accounts in order to recover and pay the tax anticipation note, in case anybody's wondering. Fund balance current year for water, $512,219. Again, that's the actual revenues less the actual expenditures, indicating we carried a surplus forward. With all of that, I'll jump over to the budget status. Page 1 of 6, sewer department. Of note that you can see your department sewer charges, very first line, it was budgeted $1.4 million, was brought in $1.7 million as a result of rate increases instituted by City Council at the recommendation of this task force. Knowing something is coming also helps. On the ARPA CSO line, where you see $194,000, the anticipation in sewer is that we have another $300,000 we have earned in FY26, but have not yet submitted for the reimbursement from the ARPA CSO. And when we do submit that, we get to give ourselves credit in FY26 for having earned it. So that is a significant number to bring in as revenue. Don't get too excited. I'm going to show you in the expenditures where it is.
Chip, do you know why the Derby share was budgeted at $140,000 and we only brought in $109,000?
I believe that relates to measured flow that came from Derby. It's not a fixed fee. There's a related pump station, and that pump station has pump hours and gallons per hour, and it resulted in less flow.
Thank you.
Moving into sewer expenditures. Nothing really exciting in the first sewer collection section where we budgeted 222,000 and only spent 165. That is the regular employees that perform services there. What is missing out of there are 3 DPW employees that do spend some time both in water and sewer, and we have yet to allocate their time and their benefits into this fund. So overall, that will mean that our due to from will grow because we're going to increase expenditures there with no offset revenues. In the sewer plant section, 0875058 group, which subtotals on the top of the second page, 924,000 with 775 spent. And again, we have some of that time that goes into sewer plant from those same 3 employees. I don't believe that either one of those subtotals is going to be exceeded.
You mean the budgeted subtotals?
What was that?
You mean the budgeted subtotals won't be exceeded?
I think the budget will not be exceeded by a new subtotal after the entries are made.
All right, thank you.
Chip, it was my,
Sewer administration is already over budget.
Chip, it was my understanding that the sewer plant were just the regular employees that worked at the plant, that there was no employee that was partially used in the sewer plant. Am I wrong?
I won't know until we analyze what the payroll charges were. Because
Okay,
DPW could go over to the sewer plant with a backhoe and perform a task, and it would be charged to the plant, not into collections.
but usually that's smaller than where they're usually used. They're mainly used in sewer collection, aren't they?
Yes, primarily out in the streets. So salaries, administration. In this particular year, this is primarily Thomas Bernier has a portion of his salary charged into sewer administration. I believe all the holiday vacation and whatnot has already been calculated and done when Stacy was here all year long. That one's already over budget by $4,000. It may go up some more after the payroll analysis. I'm not thinking by much. Personnel expenses, the next subtotaling group, 0875090. Over budget. You can see the big one is municipal retirement.
Is this the same as calculations that, affected the other departments?
I believe that the best effort was made in budgeting by
Yes.
lack of experience at the time the 26 budget was generated and adopted.
Yes.
And so we are just realizing that which we have learned along the way, and the outcome is here. And when we clearly went through budgeting in 27, the budget number for retirement is not going to be 10 grand. It's probably going to be close to 40 grand.
Yep.
So
Social
those
Security
are
is way
the
off.
types of, the health insurance and the retirement were 2 numbers across the board that were just not managed well in the budgeting process and got carried into 26 simply because that's what we knew at the time.
Health insurance is almost good here compared to Social Security. 360% higher.
Yes,
Yeah,
I can tell you what happened there. That was just because they had Social Security split up into various categories. And when they transposed to the new budget,
yeah,
they only took one of those and carried it over.
yeah.
So, Rick knew about that, and he said that he thought it could be covered.
Guess it wasn't.
Made up.
Other services, oh, I moved it. Other services, 42 budgeted, 36 spent. The property and casualty insurance for the plant, way under, but I believe that they were trying to cover all of the insurances and not just property and casualty within that budget. So when you look at any line that is typically 48, anywhere in there, those would be insurances for outside agency, from an outside agency. Then page 3, this is where you're going to see that $300,000 for CSO, the ARPA CSO. I said we anticipate, but we haven't applied for $300,000 of expenditures in '26. That we anticipate the invoice coming, but it hasn't gotten here yet. We anticipate the revenue being treated back into '26. But when we did our fixed assets, we treated that invoice as if we had already got it, which is why your CSO engineering and CSO materials are in a negative value. We took away that which we haven't even paid yet. But when we do get the invoice, that'll bring those back up to zero, and that'll bring the revenue stream in for $300,000, and ultimately, it's a net nothing to our bottom line.
That's confusing.
What's that?
I said, that's confusing.
Yes. And that's the joy of accounting. So then in debt service, all of our debts for principal moved to the liability accounts except the PSP loan 3451, which 3451 was our anticipation that we had for the bond that we, or the 5-year note with Assumption Bank, we had short-term borrowing in advance of that. Then all the others sit there as interest and admin cost or just plain interest. So when you got done, 327 is budgeted, you set your rates based on that, but then all of the principal gets taken away, so it looks like you didn't spend the 327, and that's because of the nature of having to do the accrual back to the liabilities at the end of the year. The odd combination, though, typically is that your debt payments raise enough to cover your depreciation expense. And in this particular year, they did not. Because our depreciation expense that did get booked was $350,000. And we didn't make $350,000 worth of principal debt payments.
Can I ask you something about that depreciation? You know, you know it always disturbs me. Everywhere else in the budget, you have you're gonna buy paper, you budget for paper, and then you spend X amount of money on paper. And, you know, you spend 100%. Now, What are you gonna spend the 350,986 for? Where does it go? Does it just disappear into the thin air?
So depreciation is on the balance sheet as a value of accumulated depreciation. It's a negative number. If you go back to the balance sheet, you have a list of assets that totally value, and then a cumulative life depreciation that is also on the balance sheet. And it is an accounting function to book an expense for the change in accumulated depreciation. It is not cash. It is not cash related.
But yet, the citizens are going to pay that 350,986 essentially by the rates going up to compensate for it.
The answer to that is no.
How?
The citizens have rates go up to pay principal payments on debt service, and I don't see any debt service for principal, except one line in there, in the debt service. And so I tried explaining this before, that if you know your depreciation is going to exceed your principal amounts in debt service, budget that difference as an amount for depreciation so that you do have the cash.
If you budget that as an expense, the citizens are gonna pay for it.
The answer is yes, but they're not paying for it as $350,000. If my difference in principal payments was 270,000,
Where
then I
do
would
you
only
get
budget 80,000 for depreciation.
And I would say customers, I wouldn't say community members, like this isn't to everybody.
Oh,
This is an
users.
enterprise, yeah, users, and also the function of this is because things need to be replaced, like value is lost in pipes, and we need to be accounting for this.
Yeah, I'd like
and
to
so
account for
therefore-
where that money is going.
So,
And wear and tear in all of the equipment,
is it,
everything, right?
is it fair to say that an example of that would be that we paid cash for the Vector truck, but that has to be depreciated over a period of years?
Yes. Yeah, that was cash out, so you don't see the Vector truck as part of your expenditures. What you will see is 1/20th of the portion of the Vector truck for the next 20 years show up in a depreciation number.
But we're not putting it into some sort of reserve so that we can buy a new Vector truck in 20 years.
To the extent that the depreciation's not collected in cash, it isn't there to put into a reserve. I think that's the point. That reserve has to be collected separately to pay for the next one, because we've already paid for this one.
Still difficult for me to understand, as Patrick said about something else. Thank you.
So even when I book the capital reserve, that is the 82,771.82, this expense line will not reflect it being spent, because it's not being spent. It's just going to be set aside from our fund balance. And it won't be on a spreadsheet.
Where is it?
On the actual books.
It'll be on the books, on the balance sheet as a reserve fund balance for capital. So just from this set in sewer, there are a number of alterations to still be made, and we are still bringing in invoices now that are for expenditures for '26 that are being booked back there. And I also, we know about the CSO that has got to go back to '26, and the reimbursement has got to be credited back to '26 as a receivable. So Again, the bottom line total sewer fund shows the same $1,000,006 as the current year fund balance does on the balance sheet. That's how these two reports tie together. Moving on to water, page 4 of 6. Water rents, budgeted $1,155,000, brought in $1,327,000. Again, rate increases. I believe that that number traditionally has been around that value in the budget process, but has brought in well under $1 million until you folks raised the rates. So the budget number was never tried to balance to actually raising it with rates. The number had just been carrying $1 million, $1.1 million for years, but never been obtained.
Chip, does that mean that we raised the rates too much if we brought in more money than we thought we needed for the budget?
Definitely.
I'm sorry?
The budgeting practice for 10 years was to show us if you're gonna bring in $1 million, and we never did. Which is why we ran deficits.
But now we brought in another 150,000 or so extra, 160,000 extra. Is that because
Compared to a budget that was put together for 26 without any experience in realizing the deficit?
So I think what she's asking is, where's the extra 160,000 going?
Well, we need to look at the expense side too, and get to the bottom line.
Yeah.
We haven't gotten there yet.
Yeah, and right now on the balance sheet, you're owed $328,000. So in accrual, if you're owed $328,000, take that away from your rent income. If you want to act like it's cash. Receivables are not cash. Receivables are what's owed to you. And so, looking at the number, that's what you calculated to collect over the course of the fiscal year. Again, we look at the ES water tower grant reimbursement, $111,000, totally unbudgeted. The Eastside Water Tower project had grant money coming in, and I think we still may have, I want to say $20,000 or $30,000 yet to be received in grant money. And again, this is because our final invoices from JPC Card and the engineering, A&E Engineering, haven't been received because they haven't been settled upon. And when they are received, a portion of those should be reimbursable by NDRC. So $1,155,000 in revenue, $1,455,000 brought in. Moving on to water treatment and pumping. Big deals here. 386 budgeted, 477 spent. Next to last line reads water meters. And you were just discussing for an hour about water meters. We know why that is overspent. That was intentional and in the plan to spend funds from our 2.603 million to replace water meters as well as putting in the Eastside Water Tower. So that's our contributor to being over. water distribution. Regular pay exceeded budget, and I believe you're going to determine that that is the same related cost of traditional budgeting without consideration of what the actual costs were. And so to make a budget look good, you keep the revenues the same, you keep the expenditures the same, you don't raise your rates, and you run deficits. I am not sure what the story is behind in water distribution materials, the 09, 7, 50, 64, 50. That we spent $31,000 on materials with an $8,000 budget plan. I'm sure Tom, if he was here, could answer that question right off.
I'm sorry.
Some of that might have had something to do with a couple of the really significant major water line breaks they had during the last fiscal year. I know there was one on the west side of town that I go by every day. There's another big one down on the Glen Road.
One right now.
Plus the need for the Vector truck, I get it, yep. Don't live in the city, so I don't get to see those things, John. And then one single line within the next page, Water Department Administration. Much the same as in the sewer. It's the same budget carried with pay raises and administrative costs. Personnel expenses all look healthy until we get done redistributing from DPW. Those employees, and this one may come close to the 60,000 break even within water. Other expenses, this water tower LOC interest was the line of credit with the bank while we were doing the project before we converted it to the bond. $24,000 in interest paid for the line of credit we carried with some savings. Same thing in capital expenditures. You see negative numbers on those lines for the East Side Water Tower where we're waiting for the engineer and we're waiting for JPC card to give us closing invoices, the amounts of which we know but are being politely disputed between the two. Does that work politically? Yes. And then we're in the same condition in water as we are in the debt service, where all the principal amounts were reduced on liabilities on the balance sheet, as they would be by audit. You will see that there were several loans that were not recognized in the budget. They did have principal paid and they had interest paid. Looking at the second and third line in debt service, for example, the bond bank interest, already we paid $22,000 on that water tower. And the bond anticipation note, $47,000. That was our stopgap note to get to the bond bank with the SUMSIC that was voted on August 12th. So in this case, looking at page 6 of 6, The debt service total budget was 420. We actualized 110. The difference being 310. And then we look at our depreciation, which was 265. And we covered our depreciation expense with our debt service budgeting. In this case, we actually, in terms of cash flow, we gained cash flow the way this budget worked out. That's even with unanticipated, unbudgeted interest. So again, relating to debt service principal payments exceeding the amount we have in depreciation to be booked in order to keep our cash even.
Which number of debt service are you claiming exceeds the 265,000 in depreciation?
Top of page 6, debt service budget versus actual.
Okay, so you're not using the 110 actual.
Using the difference between the budget of 420 and the actual of 110. Because we raised in the rates to pay principal, which gets taken away because of the accrual process. And so from a cash standpoint, we actually covered enough to pick up our depreciation. So our actual depreciation expense replaces our principal debt payments, leaving us a surplus. It's just those two areas in comparison to each other when trying to say, are we covering ourselves and carrying any surplus? We still have invoices again for water to bring in and pay. Some of those, the same thing, where we know we have reimbursements coming for grants for the East Side Water Tower. We still have expenditures that we know need to be paid into this year, and some reimbursements for the same project. And so these numbers are still subject to change. And when we do book the accrued interest to June 30 on all of those debts, that's going to slightly increase the expense lines in the debt service.
Do you
All
have,
part of GASB and keeping auditors with something to do.
do you have a potential time frame where you think some of these invoices will come in, where we can get some closer figures to deal with?
Frank Cheney probably has a better idea of time frame. He is aware of them. He is in conversation with them primarily because we have to do grant reporting on those expenditures. And some of those grants may lapse in time without communication saying, hey, we know this exists. It hasn't been given to us yet. But we are relying on two vendors to agree to something, and then we pay the engineer to be our clerk of the works, if you will, and until they sign off on it. But I am certainly of the belief that it is within the capacity of the city that someone at the city can say, we agree to pay JPC for this amount of money regardless of whether the engineer agrees with us. Been there, done that.
Depends on which way it goes to some extent. Do we know if Frank has been in communication with our grant givers, awarders?
Yes.
Okay.
I hound Frank almost daily over where we stand with reporting to grants and trying to get these projects identified as well, because we need the same thing to do our fixed assets for all the construction in progress and for all the completed projects, both internally and externally and for audit. So we know these exist. We just can't get, if you will, the sign off on the clerk of the works to approve us paying JPC card, at least for the water tower one. There is an issue that I don't know the complete details on with the water tower as it's functioning right now. And I believe they're trying to work out how they're going to resolve the problem.
It's not a good position to be in as a contractor, and the engineer won't approve your work.
But I think everything was done according to spec and something doesn't work.
Yeah.
And when something doesn't work, is it the engineer or the contractor? Yeah, just, it would be worth looking into.
So is there any, is it too soon to, one, be confident that the appropriate and budget entries can be made to establish the reserves?
Yeah, the entry to take and set up those capital reserves can be done. It's the additional entries that we know of, we're waiting for invoices, and we treated those as expenses that were already capitalized. Those, they look weird now until we get those invoices, but we needed those numbers to calculate depreciation. But the capital reserves are really, both balance sheet accounts get hit. Nothing gets hit in the expenditures.
So we will be able to set them, so we will be able to actually say that we're allocating those funds to both capital reserves.
Yes, they will appear on the balance sheet. They will not appear as an actual against the budget in the expenditures. Because we don't write a check. The days that we wrote a check and put it into a savings account, we don't do that stuff. Now it's done by an accounting entry to reserve some fund balance.
Yeah, and the second question is essentially, are we going to need to look at a rate adjustment after all of these other entries are made, or are we safe to leave the rates alone for a bit?
So from the earlier conversation in which we have seen that consumption seems to have gone down as more meters have been installed, you ask yourself how much of your income is based upon measured flow. And I don't know if part of the rate structure right now, in terms of the base fee, is related to the size of a given meter. Because quite honestly, it is not. However, to have 24 hours of reserve capacity for a 2-inch meter versus a 5/8 inch meter requires a lot more system readiness and storage capacity. And those meters ought to pay for that readiness more than a single-family residential does. And right now, from what I'm hearing, they do not. If no water flows, they pay the same as a single-family residential 5/8 inch meter.
So how much do you think that number should go up? And how do you figure out the proportion of it for a big business or a smaller business?
It's done by me.
So the answer to that is I don't care what goes on beyond the meter. I care about the size of the meter.
Yeah. We have flowed all those figures. We do not have very many that are over the 3/4 or 5/8. So it's one of those things whether it is worthwhile to do. That was what Paul and I were doing at one point, trying to figure that one out. But, you know, it was one of the things that I had not known is that there is this reserve capacity type thing. that has to be there, so we're looking into that. So I think, that, you know, we are not going to necessarily, we're gonna have to tweak the rates no matter what. The question is, what way do we tweak them?
Yes.
And that's still in the offing. But part of it is looking at the various flows. And I seem to have grabbed the wrong computer and forgot my thumb drive, but I can send some people some figures on it. Yeah. But at this point, you know, we wouldn't do one for the August. So,
And what's your ordinance presently say for the time frame for you to be allowed to alter rates?
next time if we don't do August, we do it in November, which would take in effect in February, or, yeah, no, May.
The next billing is for the quarter ending July 31.
Yeah.
Right.
So if we were going to adjust rates for the quarter beginning August 1st, it would have to happen this month. If I remember correctly.
I don't think we can do it that quick.
Or maybe it's 3 months out.
I think it's 3 months out.
I can't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah.
Going back and looking. But yeah, with a very, very low number of larger meters, it's a question of, you know, how much you're going to gain as a practical matter.
Mhm.
Just to add some context of why I'm here. Last week I went to a training called Making Sense of Water Rates. And I went because that's part of my job, and I'm supporting small water systems. But one thing that, and so with that knowledge, I'm just approaching this as an enterprise fund, because it absolutely is, and it's really finicky because a lot of variables are impacting your rates, and just to better understand that versus the municipal financing that I've been looking into, it was really interesting, but they had some different examples of, and again, you guys have probably already looked into this, I know y'all looked into different water rates and how Newport compares, there's a database, but I think it was Bennington or Brattleboro, so don't quote me on which town, but it just depends on the variable cost and your fixed cost and your, you know, your volumetric charge, because we're headed there, or we're not quite there, but they had a very low, like $8 base fee, and an extreme amount on the flow, and it really then, I don't know where we are in, like, if that's what you guys are talking about as far as looking at what those buckets and tiers are.
We've talked about
or-
lowering the equivalent volume, which is 13,500, because
That's
it's
really-
absurdly high compared to other
Yes.
towns.
Yes.
And
that-
charging, you'd then be charged more per 1,000 gallons to make up the difference, which might allow us to lower the base rate.
Part of the things is one of the things with the NIMRIC system, if I remember correctly, I asked Chip this, how many lines can we have for our billing? So we've got the base rate there, and then I think we have 3 variable rates we can put in of changing the rates. And we are, you know, Paul and I discussed lowering the base charge, because what we want to make sure we do is we capture those people who have a connection that is sitting there, because at any point they could turn on that connection, and we might not be capturing it for reading. So, you know, it's sort of one of these things, but we're thinking of lowering the base rate, lowering the minimum. But, you know, we basically were hoping that we could get like 4 different rates per gallons because of the spread that we have,
Yeah.
which, you know, I've got figures, and unfortunately, don't ask me why I picked up the wrong computer, but I was in a huge rush. And there is this sort of huge gap where we've got 2 of them that are using over 1 million or 2 million gallons. Yeah, and then we come up, our next one is, maybe, 400,000. Yeah, and we've got, quirks in between. But the majority are certainly, for the residential, it's under 9,000.
Yeah.
So,
I also think that we're in a pickle because, one, we don't have everybody metered, so we're not actually accounting for the water usage. And then if we start going on just usage that's coming out of the meter and we lower our base rate to $8 a quarter, we are hemorrhaging money with
Yeah.
leaks.
yeah,
Because it does not
Yes.
capture any leak.
Yeah.
And it's only end user volume, not production volume.
yeah.
So that will screw us.
And our.
Which is unfortunate because
our leaks
everybody's
are
paying for the
also
leaks.
major. Yeah,
But the way it's set up, we're currently all split cost sharing the leaks,
yeah.
you know.
And what I have seen on the leaks, and I'm not gonna quote now because I haven't flowed, because I don't have the exact dates of when we did the readings. It is, it's considerable. But, as we say, we've had major water leaks over the, year that we've been meeting. Pam just mentioned what's going on right now, and it's a problem. Our system is old. And that's why we ended up, at some point, we're gonna do that test to see if we can locate
Yeah, leaks.
leaks. But also, the other thing is, if you meter size wrong, you end up not capturing the lower flow. And sort of looking at this list of 70 people, a lot of them are vacant, but, when you see the hospital on there, they're, our first or second largest users, Columbia Forest Products. Prison alone was number 3, and they put in water efficiency, changed some of their systems, and went, dropping down where they aren't even in the top 10. It's interesting.
Any meter basically that's over 1.5 inches in size and over a 15-year-old, replace it. The technology has changed so drastically that there's typically one dial, but there's 2 chambers, and it'll measure down to a half a gallon a minute.
Yeah, we've got a number of those double read things, I've forgotten what they call them, high-low meters.
Yeah, and even those are outdated.
Okay. Should we, get you to quote how much a replacement on one of those is? I gather they're considerable.
Be anywhere $2,800 to $5,000, depending upon the size. But it will pay for itself in low flow measurement that you are right now not doing.
Yeah. And that's the other thing we're gonna have to be, bite the bullet on.
So how are you going to charge for them? Are you going to charge the end users, all of us? Or is that something that, quote, the city will pay for with taxes? Or are there grants, which there haven't been up till now?
It's potentially why they haven't already been replaced.
I know.
And we have a lot of test meters that are on their way out too.
You and I, Jennifer, have the oldest meters because we were that first batch.
Yeah.
And meters never run fast, they always run slower.
Yeah. Mhm. So it's one of those things. I mean, we're in a difficult stage. If we had metered before, we wouldn't be sitting here with
Yeah,
meters we have to put in, meters we have to replace,
yeah.
and we're doing both. I mean, we've got some really old meters out there. So it's one of these things, and we've got to get a, sort of system in there, and the employees in there where they can spend the time to do the replacement, and also know what is transpiring. So it's a combination of what's happening downstairs. And downstairs doesn't have enough time, which is why I've become the one who's coordinating things. I'm looking at things. They can see a meter that's out of whack. And both Stacy and Robin, too, is doing an excellent job on that. I'm looking at the figures, sort of lump, but not necessarily looking individually. I'm trying to get to that because we're getting to enough where we have them, that we're flowing them. And just is seeing what's happening. And I picked up on my going through, I think 30 of the non-read meters and just spotting, you know, things that weren't quite right. But then I have not assembled where they are. There weren't a whole group that told me, oh yeah, those are the cabins on the bluffs. So we really, you know, there's still a lot of work we have to do. And I will be the first to admit, I took a fairly long vacation there, where I really was not doing what I should have done, you know.
Well, we'll cut your pay in half.
Thank you, thank you. I got a lot of places that are doing that, and I have some that are doubling it, and bloody hell, it doesn't make a difference.
So, but at the end of the day, we're not talking about raising rates right now.
Correct.
Because we are generating income that meets our expenses.
But I wouldn't say we aren't thinking of raising rates. I think we're thinking of adjusting them.
Yeah.
Because I think we really have to go through and do an adjustment.
But are we gonna do that before we have critical mass of metering?
I think we have to, yeah, well, I think it is worth trying now. I think we have enough of mass. We started this, this got started on 400 meters. Now we only have less than 400 that aren't metered. So we've got a really good one where we're seeing it. And we're seeing definitely, if we just have to, you know, ballpark, we're gonna see the flow usage go down. And it's one of the things, we're making money on some of these people who aren't metering their places. Yeah. So, yeah. We could put that on the flyer, you know. Yeah. Guess what?
Yeah.
Unless you have a hose going 24/7 out your back door, you probably are losing money. Yeah. Mhm. Yeah.
Well, it seems to be a problem endemic to a lot of small water systems. There was an article about Martin Village a few weeks ago in the Chronicle, and their woes make ours look pretty mild by comparison in terms of their problem with, it sounded like a majority of their meters are non-functional, and they've known that for years, and just haven't done anything about it. And I know their rates are much higher than ours,
Yeah.
so
I mean,
we just don't want to end up in that hole.
Yeah.
We can avoid it.
Yeah. And our major problem, we have to admit, is debt service. The debt that we're carrying
Yes.
is horrendous. You know, if we could get rid of that, I think we could have had a really functioning system, but I think that's why every system's got a problem, is this, you know.
Yeah, that's not repairing any leaks.
Yeah.
Well, the reality is that you know, any system as old as ours, we're headed into the situation where we probably have to take on some debt to repair major sections.
Yeah.
You know, hence the hope of getting grants for Main Street as a prime example.
Okay, so how do you want me to summarize this in our little email? That we're gonna adjust rates, we're gonna look into adjusting rates to meet the demand for income versus the balancing, the making the rate structure simpler and more equitable. How do we wanna, what are we gonna do here?
Well, I think it's more a question of looking at perhaps adjusting the balance between usage rates and base rates,
Yeah.
and looking at whether we should lower that 13.5 threshold.
And I think we did ourselves a real disservice when we increased just the base rate. That was a wrong move on our part. So we do have to tweak that. You know, it created the income we needed and solved a short-term problem, but I think it threw all of the, you know, figuring out of whack a little, so.
And I intend
So things remain the same. Where's the 27 budgeted revenue compared to what you did raise, knowing the trends you're on now?
I don't know what the 27 budget revenue is. Do you have those figures?
I know a guy who knows a guy who can get them.
Is it in this?
Yeah, it should be. We approved it,
Was this the one that we just did?
yeah,
Yeah.
I think it is. If it's got the water tower on it,
Yeah.
yeah.
26 to 30. Okay, so for 26, 27, the 26, 27 proposed revenue for sewer is 2,621, 787. 787. And then water.
So,
Water,
So-
water.
John, don't look at your total income, look only at your sewer charges,
Oh, okay.
1,586,000,
Oh, right, yes.
right? Because you're not raising by user fees $2.6 million.
Right. So
There's,
it's,
in there is an ARPA CSO, 650,000 for sewer anticipated. So,
yeah, so it's, 1,586,794 as opposed to this year's budget, or the immediate just budget, 1,422, and actual of 1,723. And then water, where's water? Okay, so water, budgeted for the year just ended was 1,155,756. Actual 1,455,000 for 26, 27. User fees budgeted are 1,220,301.
1,220,000.
$1,220,301.79 to be specific.
great. So if the budget has been done with anticipated accuracy, the water rates are fine, but sewer rates are not.
No.
But last year's budget included about 200,000 for a Vector that was unbudgeted. Does that impact how much money you need? Since hopefully we won't be buying things that we don't budget for in the future.
I'm sorry, John, the budgeted revenue for sewer, 1,586,000 for 27. And with the current rate structure you have in 26, you brought in 1,000,007. So the current rate structure, if all things are equal, the current rate structure, current flow, current accounts will keep your revenue within the budget that's planned for 27. And that's for sewer. Then for water,
Yeah, for water, the budget,
budget of 122, 1,220,000, and for water revenue in 26, you brought in 1,327,000. So again, if the rates and all remain identical, usage counts and everything remains identical, without a rate change, you bring in enough money to meet what is budgeted, if what is budgeted is accurate enough.
Do we meet it or exceed it?
Exceed it. If the rates stay the same and our income remains the same, we will exceed the budget plan for '27.
Does that mean that we should reduce the water rate?
No,
It depends.
because we're seeing a drop in the amount of usage, billed usage. It is consistent all the way through.
And as you say, you install meters and the consumption goes down.
Yeah,
Well, the bill total goes down,
yeah.
the consumption may have always been the same.
Well, and we also have the issue of expenses. You know, the expenses, again, were all based on projections made last winter. And,
Yes.
and, you know, we're, 16 days into the fiscal year now. We know, just as one small example, that fuel expenses have gone up considerably in the last 4 or 5 months compared to what we expected back around December of '25.
And did we cure the healthcare?
Yes,
Yes, that was.
that was,
I mean, it would be, you know, I think we should look at the '27 budget in comparison to what we have for '26, or, sorry, this is '25. Not '26.
good. Any other information you want to pass on to us, Chip, or any other questions from anyone to Chip?
No, just keep doing what you're doing.
I guess we could say the same for you, too.
For sure. Okay, good.
Right.
Well, with that, I guess we're set on that item.
I have one thing that came from the
Yeah.
charter committee, too.
Yep, so we can, do we need Chip for that, or?
No, we don't.
Okay,
Nope.
so I think we're set. Thank
Hey, I'll
you.
go watch a soccer game.
Enjoy.
Yeah, there's
Right.
still soccer.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Good night,
these are the
everybody.
last ones, right?
Yep.
Yeah, it's getting there,
Okay,
yes.
A million fans
okay.
everywhere.
Okay, yep, and then the other thing that I have is, and I think I emailed this afternoon. I don't know if anybody printed it, but I've got a few copies here.
I can send it.
Contract to you, and I've got an extra.
Is this,
This is,
oh yeah. If you want your own copy.
so basically, the comments came back from the city attorney regarding the amendments to the, proposed amendments to the water ordinance. And the, you know, in my read, the comments are pretty minor. There's nothing substantive whatsoever that changes.
There was one that struck me, I only got through part of it. I'm trying to see if it's here or not. No, it's not.
Yeah, it's mostly just clarifications.
Yeah. One was a simple wording, and I thought that the wording changed what our intent was. But it's nice to see a lined out copy, because the thing that got sent was a clean one.
No, you must have just been looking at it. If you
Yeah.
don't press enable editing, it's not gonna show you the revisions.
I'm about ready to kill Adobe. Yeah.
Oh,
I
Adobe,
could-
it was a Word doc.
This came as a Word document.
Well,
Yeah.
it's everything with my computer and my printer, and I
That sounds
fought
really
for
frustrating.
about an hour, yeah. And at this point, I couldn't get anything to print. So, no, I got one thing to print. an inch to print a Word doc. But for some reason, this was not coming up, but I was looking at it on my iPad. We might have summarized it all.
I didn't have any thoughts or any takeaways from it other than just that last comment on the last page about the ability to, I don't really understand what the outcome of this comment was. Be careful here, the city's authority charges standby or access fees based in general law, not by charter. City charter only allows city to base charges on use of water. Fortunately, there's more leeway for these types of fees under section 24, chapter 89. So is that saying we have to change something?
Well, our current ordinance, actually, basically, that's what our current ordinance says. The only thing that we changed was to use the defined term, public water supply system. Otherwise, that language was in the old,
Charter or ordinance?
old ordinance. We weren't changing anything, and the old ordinance passed muster at the time, apparently. But be that as it may,
Should it say, just, at the end of that sentence, per 24, just say chapter 89 or something? No?
no, I don't think so.
Well, they are proposing changing the city charter, so.
Yeah, and just about every water system in the state charges this type of fee. So,
Okay, I just didn't quite understand if David wanted us to do anything, so.
I don't have the impression that he doesn't want us to do anything. He was just making the point that because he knows that the charter group is working. So what the mayor said to me today was that if we don't have any problems with this and want to pass it on, he'd like to put it on the council agenda for Monday.
Before sending forward. I think it's a good start, and if people, or if council has questions and aren't ready to pass it, we can go through it again.
I will just say I haven't had a chance to read all of it, so,
Okay. I bet 90% of the changes are capitalizing customer.
yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe 95%.
well, that's because it's a defined term somewhere.
Yeah,
That's what he was flagging, because, and that's why I changed, in that last one that he commented on, that's why I changed public water system.
Which maybe,
The public water supply system, because that's the actual defined term.
like the charter folks, and like if there is a working document with revisions, like keep in mind, because we're paying that guy, what, $250 an hour to capitalize customer? So just thought.
I don't think they've used customer in here except
No, I'm saying-
yeah.
Any defined terms that need to
Yeah.
be capitalized, like that's a find and replace all,
Yeah.
like that's,
Yeah.
and he might have done that, but I don't know.
Yeah, I missed that one, I think.
One of the questions I would have, and it does say in instances where the connection in existence as of May 1st, 2026. That was when we did this version. So my question is, do we really want to reference May 1st?
Well,
Or do we want to reference August 1st?
the reason I picked May was that it was the beginning of a billing period.
Well, that's why I said August.
Does it matter?
Well, we're not in August yet,
Yeah.
so.
But we would be, because it's going to be 90 days or 60 days to do this.
Why does it matter if it's retroactive? It's after
I don't know, I thought that initially it changed a couple of times when we were doing the version. So my feeling was it might have been the date we were working on it, because we were working on this in May. We sent it to him in May, so our working version had May, which was also the current month we were in.
Yeah, yeah.
That's my only question is
We were,
May correct or,
yeah, we were subsequent to May 1 when we sent it to them.
yeah,
I mean, in principle, we could backdate this to 2014, or wherever you guys first got your meters. right?
Well, the
2014.
Well, the basic significance of the date was to pick an arbitrary point where the city was paying for the meters, and the city is paying for the meters only in existing new
Yeah,
construction, buys their own.
yeah,
And so the May works perfectly well
Yeah.
for that purpose.
yeah, I would agree.
That
I
was,
just
that
was
was,
questioning.
that was the only purpose of it, was to create a cutoff point.
Oh, yeah,
And because the prior ordinance already required that people
mhm,
in new construction pay for meters, we weren't changing anything there. But we were trying to pick a grandfathering point, for lack of a better way to put it.
I mean, I will read this tonight, but, I'm sorry I didn't have time to read it today. Or put it this way, I started, but I was dealing with a computer and an iPad because I couldn't see the changes because they weren't highlighted. So I was spending quite a bit of time going through trying to figure out what might have been the tweaking changes, you know.
Yeah, other than customer, they're just pretty minor clarifications.
There was one that jumped out, and I'm sorry that I don't have that here. But I can email it to you as soon as I get home.
Okay. You didn't have any changes really to our, water board waiver review section, which is probably the most tedious and fresh
Yeah,
piece in the document.
oh, yeah, there's one where it dropped out structural and plumbing modifications and just said plumbing. Might be B of, what, 401,
Yeah, second page, middle.
yeah.
Replacement.
No, it's not there. Correct plumbing modifications in the structure. No, that's not it. Sorry, I feel unprepared for this one.
Hey, you
Oh,
made it.
he added the word plumbing in one place, in paragraph B in the middle of the page. It did read, I'll read it. In instances where structural or plumbing modifications are required to install a meter, all costs and expenses associated with making the required plumbing modifications in the structure shall be borne by the customer. The city shall be responsible for furnishing the meter itself.
So that would say to me, would I be able to sit there and say, oh, you know, I have to pay for the plumbing modifications, not for the structural modifications?
Right, so yeah, the word plumbing should come out of there if we don't want to be paying for structural
Yeah,
changes, so yeah.
that was.
That was probably the one that you were flagging.
Yeah, and, there was a change of it, I think.
So are we gonna say required plumbing or structural modifications?
Or just take out the word plumbing and say
Yeah.
required modifications, because it refers back to structural and plumbing.
So it says in the structure, and that does not include the service line, which the resident is responsible for all the way to the curb stop.
Yeah, and that was,
That could be part of it,
yeah, that was another one.
which is
that
why I
that
think
came
we
up.
need to include plumbing,
Or,
because it's not just, or we just remove in the structure, the required modifications shall be borne. Get rid of plumbing and
Yeah.
structure,
yeah,
because whatever the property owner owns, they are responsible for modifying.
Mhm.
curb stopping.
Yeah, and I put the curb stop in.
So, So it would read, in instances where structural or plumbing modifications are required to install a meter, all costs and expenses associated with making the required modifications shall be borne by the customer.
Yeah.
The city shall be responsible for furnishing the meter itself.
I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so those would be,
And there might be one more. Oh, just a weird question, if we go down to 44.02, that first sentence, it ends up, meter damaged by frost or be damaged in any other manner for which the customer be responsible. For example, in excavating for the installation of new utilities to the property to be served. Why are we qualifying it? What happens if it's damaged because excavating as a result of, for new utilities to the property next door?
well, it says, for example, it's not intended to be.
Yeah, but why are we putting an example in?
Yeah, that's kind of odd.
Yeah.
I mean, that was, I was sitting there going, oh, okay, and, my first thing jumped to, oh, okay, if I kill the neighbors, it's okay, because it's not mine,
Well,
What struck me was he was being paid by the word, and this fitted in.
for example, yeah.
Yeah, I would just strike all of his edits there.
So
Except for
we'd say-
capitalizing customer.
So we'd say, for which the customer is responsible, comma, the customer
Yeah, shall be charged.
shall be charged, yeah.
Yeah, because nowhere else do we really go into like for examples.
Yeah,
Yeah, no,
okay.
I think that makes sense. I mean, I didn't see it as limiting us,
That's
but by the same token,
Yeah. That's why you guys get me
it
here.
was,
Yeah, never. Thorough.
No, this one's only half-assed, I think they fill all of them, so.
you know,
If he wants it for this Monday's meeting,
that's what he was hoping for.
so he needs to have the final copy tomorrow morning?
He gave me until noon if we're gonna do it for Monday.
Oh, how sweet.
Well, I understand that he had to get on David Rude, get this back to us at all.
Yeah.
What occurred to me was he did have a change, in 403, the second paragraph, which begins when the meter does not register water usage. It says for the prior usage during the same season or quarter. Why don't we just say quarter, because we have quarters, not seasons?
Well, I was thinking of the ledges, which are really a unique category because they're not quarterly, they're seasonal.
Oh, that's true, that might be why we had it in there, okay.
It should really say seasons or quarters, parentheses as, because we might not catch it in one quarter or billing cycle. It could be 3 before somebody actually notices.
Mhm.
Assuming it only occurs in one fiscal year, it doesn't go across multiple fiscal years.
Some of these go across multiple fiscal years,
Yeah.
seem to. Yeah. So we're gonna make SM seasons and quarters plural.
I think so.
Then he also added, further along, customers shall be required pay a rate surcharge in each quarter in such an amount.
Yeah.
Is that going forward or going back? If they're saying.
It
for
says
the next
beginning with the next billing period.
period. Yeah, okay.
The way we had it worded, beginning with the next billing period, the customer shall pay a rate surcharge each quarter in such amount. He just added,
Yeah.
shall be required to pay a rate
Yeah.
surcharge in each quarter.
Okay. Okay.
The only other change from 403, in the last paragraph, was changing 10 days to 10 business days.
Yeah, so, yeah, and then we have persons over designated as well as for authorized.
Yeah, and then adding repair. I hadn't put repairing in before, but as Tom said, as a practical matter, you can't repair them on site.
No.
But,
Yeah, but I guess in the future, we might get
Whatever
serviceable
else.
meters, so.
Yeah.
yeah, so throw it in.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think so. Good otherwise.
Now, he's giving me another example in, oh, hold on. 406 on the second last page. As appropriate in circumstances, including whether structural plumbing modifications are required. I guess that's okay.
Yeah, he's
No, that's-
carrying forward our exact same language from
Yeah,
up above. And
Yeah.
what he's effectively doing there is reminding the water board that it needs to make findings on that point. So I think that's fine. He's not changing the substance, he's just making it more obvious what we're supposed to do.
yeah.
And the others are just the word customers.
Should we congratulate John on writing a really good section here?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we probably tweaked it to death.
I
too.
think your fingerprint's in there too, Jennifer, don't worry.
Heaven forbid, I doubt it.
Yeah, and 803 is just capitalizing customer. And 804 is just a style change, not the substance.
Yeah.
Evening.
So what do we think?
Things are a lot better.
Yeah.
So we,
Are we making motions here to recommend, motion to recommend, like, do we do that in this task force?
so we can certainly do that.
Okay,
Want
well,
to make a motion?
in which case, I would like to make a motion to recommend city council review and vote on adopting the amendment to the water ordinance. Last date is May 7th, 2012.
With the
With-
adjustments that we made.
Yes, the adjustments
Did we resolve what we're going to do with the comment? Do we think we're okay with just noting his comment on 402 last sentence?
Given that the existing ordinance contains the same concept,
Yeah,
I think I would just run with it for now.
okay. So I just have to make sure that the charter committee
Looks at it.
Yeah, puts that back in if they take it out.
On Monday, we can bring it up to Sharon.
We can. I'm gonna miss Monday's meeting, probably.
So,
It's gonna be 6 in the morning for me, so.
Same when they're hopefully vacation.
Yeah.
Good, good.
This is the draft that they have of the coloring.
so before we get to that, Patrick made a motion, somebody want to second it?
I guess I'll second it with the caveat, if I have any comments, I'll send them tonight. Hopefully before midnight. No, Patrick, I'll send yours at 6 in the morning.
Thanks,
You're welcome.
appreciate it.
So, given the number here, we'll consider that approved.
Yeah.
So, this one. And then you had this last thing?
Yeah,
I
and
guess
I'm
we
gonna
should
send
look
one
at.
to Patrick, and I've got it here, because he's got his computer. And then we can give, Pam and you can have, you'll have to share that one that obviously I should not be at a bar, so sending drinks down. And Patrick, I'll get you or something.
This is what again?
This is their draft. And there's a coding for it, which I'm going to read to you as soon as this thing decides to.
Oh, this is from the charter.
So the black is the existing charter?
Okay.
Yes. So I'm going to read the comments here. It ends up saying that the wording from the existing charter is struck through. The blue text indicates language we have added that differs from the current charter. The green text is the section we got hung up on, which is included to help us determine the best phrasing. So, and I think she's got red in there too.
Well, the red, it also says input welcome to needed from us and you.
Yeah. Pam and Ann both were at that meeting, so they can add input too.
What, the green is the add up? What's that?
The green text is the section we got hung up on.
Hung up, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, my voice is not the best. And,
Basically, all they're doing here is trying to regurgitate state law, I think.
Can you speak up just a little louder, John?
he said it looks like what they're doing is regurgitating state law. I think the best way of describing this is that they review a section at a time, and I think they started this at Wednesday's meeting, because I missed Wednesday's meeting, so I don't know what happened there. And Charlie had his suggestions. So he came in with his pre-printed suggestions, and he has been really coming up with suggestions, which is taking the concept of what the position is and detailing the powers and duties. And I think that technically they should learn that that can get them in real trouble by failing to mention something or not, but they're doing a really good job on what they're doing. They sometimes are a little misaligned in my mind, and I'm about ready to go through my skin in the back corner. But they are deciding they want to take the existing charter, and Pam or Ann jump in if I speak wrong. They're taking the existing charter and sort of tweaking it, and they want to leave the same sections, which of course is getting them into the conflict of
Because the current one jumps around so badly from place to place.
when they said, you know, the only powers of the council were section 23, and I'm going, that's only the ordinance powers of the council. They're gonna get there. And they are, getting there. So really, this is what they've come up with. They're getting rid of some of the historic, which is not necessarily really historic. And then trying to, summarize what they see the powers and duties are. They got into appointing the 2 customers, and then what happens when the council meets is the board of water commissioners. And you got these 2 extra customers who are they non-voting, and they got into ex officio, and ex officio does not mean they're necessarily non-voting. So they've gone down a lot of rabbit holes.
Yeah, ex
Yeah.
officio has to be spelled out, because you're right,
Yeah,
in some contexts it is voting and in others it's not.
yeah. And so that's one of the things. They're tweaking the language really specifically when they probably just should get the general idea and come back. But these are a lot of my personal opinions. Yeah. And, it's one of the things, and I kept on saying, you've got to watch out, because we've got a water ordinance that is addressing some of these things that you're talking about.
Some of this stuff belongs in ordinances and not even in the charter.
Yeah.
And some of it is regulated by the state law that creates the whole concept of water and sewer enterprise funds, and
Mm.
you don't necessarily want to be trying to change those rules, because then you're going to create auditor problems. So
Oh,
you're
yeah.
going to have your auditors spending a lot more money because they have to deal with unique city rules that don't follow the norm,
Mhm.
and that creates more problems.
Yeah, and the amount of problems that they're, coming across on. And then this, whole thing, review at least annually, the expenses of the department. No, you want to do that quarterly or monthly. You want to review the audit and the budget at least annually. But, it sort of is one of those things that you sit there and say, oh, we've got this little sort of turned
We're
around.
also asking for the water commissioners to be accountable, which they have never been.
Yeah. And
By
that's,
state, well, the water commissioners have to operate within the parameters of state law,
Yeah,
and
that
The-
did not work really effectively.
well, the fact
as
that
you
past
know.
councils haven't sat as water commissioners really doesn't justify creating some sort of bizarre structure that is a one-off that
They're not
creates an
creating a
administrative
bizarre
nightmare.
structure.
Well, it certainly appears that way.
I see what Pam's point is, and I think that.
Well, so
that-
vote out the council members that don't do their jobs.
Yeah,
It's really pretty simple.
Well,
You
what
don't
is-
like, you don't
that
like
would
it,
be
get off your
more-
ass and run.
yeah, I think,
Charming.
Well,
okay,
I'm simply stating the fact,
I,
Some people have been glad to sit on the sidelines here for a decade, but never step up themselves,
Really? We
really.
might want to have that discussion with the charter group then, because they're working their asses off.
I think one of the things is.
Well, those people are, yes.
Yeah,
And you're suggesting that those of us who are sitting here are doing diddly squat. You're
I,
entitled to your
guys, let's all cool down.
No,
Okay, all right, then I just want to say something. In my mind, the fault is not the charter and how the charter is written. And I somewhat agree with John, we're micromanaging in a charter where we shouldn't. But what I think happens is, we have failed to educate the council members as to what their job description is. And that is where the major goddamn problem of the city of Newport has been for years and years and years. Is we do not have, we rely on the leagues of cities and towns to educate a municipality that happens to be a city. And this is us being assholes, sorry, I guess I'm on recording, so I better watch out. But I think, we really, we have to realize we've got, the council has to be informed. And they're very nice people who are on this committee, and a number of them are new. And, they don't know some of the past history, or they know the past history from a different point of view or one-sided. And the fact of the matter is, yeah, we need to learn from our history. We can't wipe it under the table, which I think our mayor wants to do. We have to learn from it, but we do not have to micromanage everything as a result of it.
I agree with you.
Yeah, so I'm gonna now shut up and get off my high horse.
Well,
Sorry.
and the League of Cities and Towns does in fact offer a lot of programs and services that are available to council people and select boards. And the real issue is that people who have full-time jobs often have a hard time taking time off to go to all of those things because they're held in central locations. They're not all on Zoom. And, you know, it's a real burden for
And it,
volunteers, which everybody is in every community in Vermont practically, with the exception of Burlington, to be able to go to very many of those things. And, you know, there's not a lot of, obvious support for it, even in the sense of, you know, if you go trekking to Montpelier to meetings, you know, should the city pay your mileage, for instance?
Yeah.
I don't think we budget for that.
no.
We don't budget anything for council training.
And I think that
probably
that's
is
our fault, yeah.
Yeah, that's
And
actually,
it has been for years.
and I agree with you completely on the issue of council
Yeah.
education and roles. And
And
that's
the-
where the
The
real,
league is a godsend in its own right, but the problem is when we depend fully on the league, when we have people who probably have not read the full of the charter, you know, it just is, and it's difficult. You do have to study, you know, so.
I'm gonna just suggest that we chew on this, table
Yeah.
it, and just, it's 9:20.
Yeah.
We've been here 3 hours. I think we have time to look at this.
I would, you know, next week they're meeting on Monday and email and say, you know, we aren't gonna get back to you by Monday. They are taking Wednesday off. So the following Monday will be when they meet, you know, and I'm back on, I think, Saturday, so. But, you know, my feeling is, I don't wanna say, you know, really you should start from scratch again. Yeah, I think some of it's worthwhile, but some of it is, you know, AI.
well, and if they're trying to follow the format of the existing charter, I would think that they would focus on the 3 or 4 or 5 things that are the biggest issues and just work on trying to seriously update those and leave the rest of it be for a while.
I have a.
Given the time frame they were trying to operate under, I don't see how you could, it's even more compressed than last time.
I think they might come to that realization, but I think that that's literally the only rational way of doing this partially right. You have got to look at it as a temporary stopgap fix and spend the time, because these people, it's an amazing amount of time they've been spending. And I think they're very good and they're very involved, but I think that right now, the inconsistencies that I have seen, we haven't seen a working document, and I think that that's somewhat right because they're still working on it. But the inconsistencies I've noticed in the meetings I've been to, and again, I think Pam and Ann will note more inconsistencies because they've managed to make it.
We just sit on the sidelines, we don't know diddly squat.
Okay, so,
I sent out in minutes, I have said that we tabled this matter, and I'm gonna pack up my things and go home tonight.
Yes,
Yeah.
Is this meeting recorded?
yeah,
Great.
including my tirade,
Oh, it's okay.
Do we need a motion to adjourn?
yes.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
I will
We can
second
pack
that.
it in.